Woo! 5 years from making my first $7.25 on my first month of TPT all the way back in 2018 to last month where I made $17,000 on TPT. It's been a wild, crazy ride. And to be fully honest, I definitely had no idea that we were gonna end up here. I started Teachers Pay Teachers, as it was called, because now, and if you didn't know, it's officially TPT. But I started Teachers Pay Teachers all the way back in 2018 because I had a blog and had been blogging for a year, and I wanted a way to just like be able to easily get my resources to people, and I thought that would be a good platform to be able to, you know, do that. And then on top of that, I was like, you know, and I could make a couple dollars, and that would be super cool too. The first few months I did not make much, like $7 and then like $9 and then like $40, and then December I made over 100, and that was the month that I was like, this could be something. Although I definitely still didn't know that it could be what it is now. So every year on my like TPT anniversary, I don't know the exact date, but you know, the month of my TPT anniversary, I like to sit down and have a chit chat with you about different things that I have learned over the year. I have a couple of things written down about specifically the last year. I try to keep it mostly like the last year, things I really realized this past year. Okay, so first of all, this past year has been weird to say the least. Like last fall I was doing actually very well, the best I'd ever done. January was great, and then February I was super excited because I had been doing like super well, and February is typically one of my best months of the year, and February came and I barely matched last year's February, and I was like, what is going on here? I did make a teensy bit more, but it was by like $100 or $200 or something that when you're making 5 figures is pretty minuscule. I'm not mad about it, I'm not sad about it, like I'll take the money, but it just was not what I was expecting, and that trend has definitely continued for the entire year. So February on, every month has been like a teensy bit higher than last year when I'm used to making like a lot more than the year before. And then in August I actually had my first month that was less than the year previous. So things are interesting. The reason I wanted to start out with that is because I know a lot of you are in that same boat right now, and so I just wanted to let you know that like it's not just you, and there's a lot of factors at play. There are some things that I have recognized, like, oh, I need to do these things better, and we'll talk about some of them in here. I've also done a lot of things to try to keep things going better than they were looking like they were gonna go, and it's been an adventure. But if you're, you know, looking at your stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? There's been a lot going on. The economy's been crazy, and all sorts of things have been crazy, and so that's what we're dealing with. Now, I don't say that like as an excuse, but do keep in the back of your mind, like not everything's about you. And so those things are aware. So just if you've been like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Same. So I have 8 things here that I wanted to talk about that specifically are things that I have learned, realized, really relied on in this past year, especially really from like February to now is kind of what I'm thinking. Have been able to keep my sales up or better than I thought they were going to be, even as they're, you know, not as good as I was hoping / expecting at the beginning of the year. So here we go, year 5. Some of these might be repeats from last year because, you know, some things are just important. And number 1 is having an audience. It is the biggest game changer to have an audience. And I think about that a lot actually, because I think about how different things are now than if I didn't have anyone to talk to, because especially this year with like sales have been down for me at least. And if my sales had been down and I had no way of bringing them back up other than like making products, updating products, I would be in a really bad position at this point. But because I have an audience, I've been able to market things to them, and I've been able to talk to them to figure out what they need that they'll actually purchase, and I've been able to do all these things that have given me more control. You know, if I throw a sale, people will buy things, and those kind of things make a huge difference, especially when sales in general are lower than they have been in the past. I'm not gonna get into this just yet, but it's also made me very creative with things that I do, especially in terms of marketing and in terms of what like my priorities are in the business and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the audience is a game changer. Being able to send an email and make money from it, like directly from that, is a huge win. And it is so much better than anything else that you can do really in your business. Because yeah, you can post a new product, but how long until someone sees that product? And how long until someone buys that product? And what if, you know, this, that, or the other, they can't find it? And so there's just so many what ifs, and having the audience gives you so much more control, especially through all of the search algorithm craziness that was going on. Being able to drive my own traffic through content and through email was the game changer. So I know I talk about that one a lot, but like really truly, if there is something that you want to do to be successful, like make good products, make good listing pages, grow your audience. And if you do those three things, you will be successful. Like, you will. Number 2 is, this year I've really learned the value of the high ticket offers. So that might be a bundle. I was thinking specifically of courses. So, you know, most of my products in my store are like $3, $4, maybe $5, other than bundles, which still a bundle is maybe, there's a dog here. I'm not crazy, by the way. Other than bundles, which still tend to be, you know, what, $15, $20. I have, you know, a couple that are bigger, but they don't sell a ton. This year, I fulfilled a long-term dream of mine of creating the centers course that I have been after. So back in 2020, I was like, I want to build a course. I'm gonna make a course on centers. And then 2020 happened and nobody was doing centers because we couldn't be in close proximity and we weren't even in school. And so like all these things happened, and because of that, I put it off, and finally got to do it this spring. I launched it in what I feel like was not the best time to launch the course. I think it was like March. And at that point, you know, a lot of people are not really super invested in the school year. It's not summer, so they don't have extra time yet, but it actually still went really well. And having that higher ticket item where instead of making $2 or $20, I was able to make like $100 a pop. It makes a huge difference because you don't need as many buyers. You do need your buyers to trust you a lot more because it's much more of an investment to do a course than it is to buy a $3 product. But having those higher ticket items is such a game changer in terms of revenue. Now, was it super hard? Yes. Was it a lot of work? Yes, but it definitely paid off and has continued paying off, and I have continued to see sales even after the launch. I had a launch and then I closed it, reopened it with like a second kind of launch, and then because I did like an early bird thing, reopened it, and then I've still seen sales trickle in a couple every week or so. And it's so much easier to make a decent amount of money in courses. Now, technically that's not a TPT thing, but still, you know, it's just been weird. I do my courses on Teachable, by the way, but you can do them and sell them on TPT. You can't make them on TPT, but you can sell them on TPT if you have like we can talk later. So when it comes to increasing your revenue, one of the best things you can do is to increase the prices, and especially if you can do something that is worth a lot, like my centers course is worth way more than I charge for it. It has like literally there's so many products in there, and a lot of them that are exclusive to the course that if you had purchased all the products, it would be more than the course, and then you also get the content. So it's a really good deal. I'm not saying like go, you know, make fluff, but it's a really good deal, and it also brings in a lot more revenue for me. And so that has been really profitable this year, especially, which has been especially great because, you know, with TPT not bringing in as much as I want, having that extra revenue source that I am able to rely on has been really helpful. I'm not quite to the place where it's like making recurring revenue that I can rely on, but that's the next step. So that's what I'm looking for coming soon. This year, I have really been looking at the data. Now, I've always looked at certain things of data. So I always look at like my bestsellers and my best selling this month and like things like that. But this year I've looked a lot more into things like conversion rates and traffic and like those kind of things. And I'm still I'm like starting to do this whole process of updating products. I've been doing that for the last couple of months. updating products, updating listings, just doing those things. And in that, I've been doing a lot of like data looking and data diving and figuring out, you know, what products need a little bit of help other than the ones that are really obvious because I haven't updated them since 2018. And, you know, I've just gotten a little bit better since 2018. And so those are really obvious, but other ones are less obvious, and you can notice different things when you actually go and look at your product statistics and are really strategic about it. For example, I was looking at a set of games that I have, and I have a bunch of them, and they're for like a bunch of different concepts for music, and most of them have like a ridiculously high conversion rate, which is funny because the listing was terrible. So like I've been going back and fixing the covers, fixing the descriptions, adding previews because I didn't have them, that kind of stuff. And so the conversion rate should get even better, but the conversion rates have been really good. And then I looked at one version of this product and realized that the conversion rate was not that great on that one compared to the other ones. And so looking at that has made me realize like, oh, I need to update this to include something that wasn't in there before, because it's an instrument version and I don't have the names of the instruments on there. And so I think if I add the names of the instruments, that will help a lot with the conversion rates, and have like one version with names and one without names. But it is not converting as well as the other ones. And so looking at those things and seeing areas where you could improve will really, really help. So I'm still on like the beginning stages of this whole like data updating journey. So I don't have a lot of data yet, but I will say that one of the products I updated, I added a preview. It didn't have a preview before. And I was looking at the numbers the other day, and it already had like 64 preview views in like a couple of days. And I was like, these thousands of people that have looked at this product have never seen this preview because it's only been a few days, but 64 people have looked at it in just a couple of days. Like the preview, not even the whole product, just the preview they have looked at. And so that was really was really a revelation to me as to how important the previews are. Like I knew they were important, but they're really important. So I'm really excited to see how the conversion rates and therefore sales improve after making that switch. I've been looking more at the data, and I've been doing a lot more updating, and by a lot more I mean more than zero. So you know, we've got that going for us. I'm trying to split up my month and have like product creation weeks and then like product updating weeks, and that has been going pretty okay for me so far. So hopefully I'm like, we're in September, so I'm trying to like get into a routine because August was crazy town. So I'm trying to like establish routines, and so that's one of the things I'm working on. It's like, okay, these are gonna be my product creation weeks and these are gonna be my product update weeks, and trying to like get that all sorted. The next thing that has been super beneficial for me, more in, actually no, with everything, is planning ahead. Now there's a couple reasons this has been helpful. I've been kind of forced to do this because I hired a video editor. Thanks, Brian. It has really, truly changed my life. Like I cannot imagine how this past month would have gone if I also had to edit all these videos myself. It would be a disaster. So I have needed to plan much further ahead because it's not just me anymore. And so I can't send Brian things at like 9 o'clock at night and be like, hey, I need this tomorrow. Would you stop hitting the camera, please? Thank you. So instead, I have to make sure that if a video needs to go out, that I make sure I have it filmed ahead of time, and like 2 weeks ahead of time, not like a couple hours ahead of time. And so like really having to think through that kind of stuff has been really helpful. On the other hand, I have been trying to plan more ahead, specifically with seasonal products. And this has been really, really a game changer, because if you know me, you know I am absolutely obsessed with seasonal products. I don't need any more seasonal products. I have so many seasonal products, and yet I've already made like a whole bunch of Halloween stuff because I'm obsessed. I love them. They make me happy and I like making them. And so therefore we have lots of seasonal products. So in those seasonal products, I tend to post them like a few weeks before the season, sometimes like 1 week before the season. Sometimes I post them after the season's over. I have some Write the Rooms that I posted last year after Thanksgiving was over because I was like, well, I already have them, just need to get them up so they can sell next year. So fingers crossed they sell this year. Seasonal products have that inherent deadline. If you don't have it before the deadline, then no one has time to buy them. And so I've run into that a lot where I'm like, this is a really cool product, but people were only able to buy it for a week. So that's not very helpful. And so this year I've really been trying to work on that specifically. That means that it's September and I already have a whole bunch of Halloween resources that are finished and product photography done, and I'm gonna post them in the next couple of days. And so people have all of September and all of October to buy said products. Now, do I think that everyone's gonna go buy this Halloween products like tomorrow? Probably not. But it means that there's the opportunity to show it. I can pin it on Pinterest, get some traction going. I am planning to make a video about one of them. And so in that I can, you know, again, get more traction going, and I can get the word out there that this product exists and you need it because it's great. And so being more on top of seasonal products is really helpful mentally, because I don't have to stress about them as much, because I'm not like, it has to be done right now. And I have a little more time. And then secondly, hopefully it will increase revenue on said products because people actually have a little bit of time to purchase them. Coffee break. This is coffee, by the way. These are color changing cups, so they look a little funky. You can see like where the ice cubes are. They do look a little bit weird. Now, along with planning ahead, something else that I have learned, really appreciated this year, that I wish I'd appreciated last year, because this is more of a lesson by failure example, is having a promotion schedule. So this summer I was part of a music teacher summit, like an online, you know, conference situation. And I did it last year, and last year it was in August or September. This year it was in July. Okay. So I was promoting that to my email list, to Instagram, all those things. And then once that was done, I was like, oh, I need to promote my back to school course so that people have time to purchase that. But I didn't want to promote it right after I finished promoting the other thing. And so then I ended up waiting too long, and I promoted it right before the back to school sale, like a couple days. Like, I saw that the sale was happening and I was like, oh my gosh, I just finished getting all those emails written and ready to go. And I definitely paid for it, because although my course did sell, the back to school sale was not nearly as good as it was last year. And so part of that, you know, could be the economy and all that stuff. But I think a large part of it is to do with the fact that I had just been promoting something else, and then I like back-to-back sale. Actually, in fact, I know that that's part of it, because I can look at the emails that I sent and what the UTM codes are reporting, and I made significantly less from emails via UTM codes than I made last year. So because of that, I am trying to be a lot more careful with my promotion schedule. And from now on, we'll have a promotion schedule, AKA when I'm promoting anything that costs more than like $3 needs to be on the calendar, so that I don't have that problem where it's back to back. Because one, that's annoying, totally feel it. And two, because it causes people to then not want to read your emails about the sale, because they're like, oh, I just bought that course, I don't need to open this. But I'm not talking about the course, I'm talking about the sale. But they don't know that. And also they just spent money on the course, so now they don't want to spend money on the sale. So I totally understand, but because of that, I just like really need to be more strategic. And it's just kind of one of those things that like, this happened, this happened, this happened, and then I was like, oh, dang it. Anyway, have a promotion schedule of what you're sending to your email list, what you're talking about on Instagram, so that you don't have too many promote-y things back to back to back, and so that you are able to make as much money as you possibly can from each event, because they are more clustered. And then in between those, you can still provide content, but not like, hey, go buy my stuff, because you know, there we are. So plan ahead and plan your promotion schedule. Next up is previews. I kind of touched on this already, but previews are something that I have always known are important. I haven't always used them or made them, but I do realize they're important. And this past year, I really solidified how I like to do my previews, and I really spent a lot of time thinking about them and researching them and figuring out the best way to do them. And because of that, I have seen increases in sales with things that have previews. In that, I am now going back and updating, like I mentioned, and one of the big things is making sure that my products have previews so that we can use those things to increase conversion rates and therefore increase revenue. Like I already mentioned with that story, people look at previews. And like, I knew that in my head, but I didn't like really, it didn't register that much for me until I saw those numbers and I was like, oh my gosh, people really look at previews. And so here's my story to you. People look at previews. Don't skip the previews. Do I sometimes skip the previews? Yes. Am I gonna do that less now? Yes. And so just make sure you have the previews ready and up because they do make a huge difference. So don't skip the previews. Make sure you use all of your listing page because it's your first line of defense in selling your products. And the last thing that I really learned this year, in particular due to sales being not as good as previous years, is to let things go. So yes, we're being like Elsa and we're letting things go. And I have to do the hand motion every time I say it. And when I think about it, I literally will stop and be like, Becca, let it go. So I tend to be somebody who wants to get a lot of stuff done and has really big plans and really big dreams and really big goals that I'm working towards. And some part of that is that I then plan too many things that I can't do, like seasonal products, and it gets to be the season and it's not done yet, or other things, and I have the hardest time not doing them. And this year I have really realized the benefit of letting that kind of stuff go. So if I have a seasonal product and it's getting really close to the season, I'm letting it go. I can do it next year. It's okay. I have certain videos that I am no longer making. Like I used to make a what I'm teaching this week video, which I love doing and a lot of people like watching, but it was really stressful. And so I have let it go. And there's just different things like that where I just really have been looking at all the things I'm doing. And a lot of it has come from starting at a new school. I'm really trying to be strategic about making sure I'm not taking things into my new school that I don't need to, like physically, but also like mentally and emotionally. So if there's things that I'm doing that I don't need to be doing, I'm not doing them anymore. And we're just letting those things go. And it's fine. And does it mean that maybe I make a little bit less money? Yeah, maybe, possibly. Or does it mean that I have more brain capacity to make other things better? We'll find out. So even though this year hasn't been like the best year ever in terms of TPT sales, I mean, it hasn't been bad. There's only been 1 month I've made less than that year last year. Even though it's been less than I anticipated or was hoping for, I'm still really grateful for all that has happened, and I still have big dreams and I still have big hopes. And yes, I'm trying other things. I'm trying out different sales platforms and doing other things and making courses and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, TPT still brings me the most money. So if you're new and you're thinking like, you know, is this worth it? This is me sitting here 5 years later saying, yeah, you can make $7 your first month, but it gets a lot better from there if you put in the work. And if you do these couple of things that I just told you, then you'll be a leg ahead of me because I didn't have anyone telling me to do these things. So, hi, do you want to make an appearance? Come on. Ah. Oh, that side? No, come here. I'm gonna show you to the people. Huh. It's also almost our 1 year Nyla anniversary. Yep, 1 whole year. Okay.